Yes, hello, and welcome to episode 8 now of Land of the Rising Scrum, where one by one we are working our way through the tournament, profiling every team that we're going to see at this year's tournament in Japan. This week we're putting the microscope over one of everyone's favourite underdogs, entering their 6th World Cup, having debuted in 1995. It is, of course, Namibia. Despite playing 19 games down the years in the tournament, the African side are yet to win, and as one of the more interesting side narratives of this year's tournament, the talk is that a lot of people are tipping them to change that this year. At each and every tournament, their points for is increasing, their points against is decreasing, and their current form and that of their pool opponents, Canada possibly, are making a lot of people stand up and take notice. So joining me on this week's show, I'm delighted to say, is arguably the most recognisable Namibia player ever, a veteran of 3 World Cups, a Premiership and a Champions Cup winner with Saracens, one of the toughest tacklers I think we can all say we've seen in the past 10-15 years. Jacques Berger, good afternoon, and thanks for speaking to us on Land of the Rising Scrum.
Hi Neil, yeah, nice to speak to you guys, no problem, it's good to be on the show.
And it's good to connect with you as well, because we've been trying to set this up for a couple of days, but obviously I'll get into the fact that you retired a couple of years ago. You're living back in Namibia now, and you are pretty much out in the wilderness on a farm at the moment, and when you were out and about on that farm there was no connecting to a phone.
Yeah, man, sorry Ben, I've been, you probably thought I've been dodging your calls, but it's a bit different out here in Namibia, and out in the bush there's no reception, so when you're out there working, you can't be on the phone constantly. So I apologise for that, but it's good to finally get you. And
tell me about that farm as well, because I was reading up on your retirement, and it's am I right in saying 14,000 acres?
Yeah, that's about correct. It's pretty small in what the sizes of the farms are down in southern Africa. Just because it's such a dry piece of the country, so you need quite a big piece of land to kind of make a decent living. This year we didn't have any rain, just to give you a good example. So I mean, you need to have a biggish area so you can have enough food for your animals to go around.
I can only imagine as well. Are there parts of your farm that you haven't even seen? It's so big.
Yeah, no, it's not that big. I mean, if you come over here, I'll show you. It's a lot of space, but I mean, you get by quickly.
Having followed you on Instagram as well, I mean, some of the pictures that you just see posted up there from around the place are just it's absolutely stunning scenery. It's just desert as far as the eye can see, and beautiful mountains, and it just must be an incredible and easy pace of life to be living at.
Yeah, it's incredible. You know, Neil, it's I'm extremely blessed to be here and living in this part of the world down south in Namibia. It's like I said, it's a pretty harsh place to be a farmer. It's very dry. We're in the middle of a drought now as well, so it's pretty tough. You know, but the beauty, even though it's very dry, you can always see the beauty of it. You know, and the quality of life is really good. You've got good time I spend plenty of time with my kids and stuff, take them out into the bush, and we're out there barbecuing on the sand dunes and stuff. So it's lovely, you know. It's nothing like nothing like my time in the UK where you're constantly wet and it's cold and then all that. But what I wouldn't give for a bit of UK rain right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a remarkable change of pace from living in London for the best part of 6-7 years of your life.
No, it's two different worlds, really. But it's a beautiful place, and it's a beautiful place in Namibia, and I'm really happy to be here.
And obviously, you retired probably just 3 years ago now. It was 2016 when you stepped away. Played at 3 World Cups, 2007, 2011, and 2015. Is it going to feel strange watching on the tournament come September, knowing you're not going to be there?
Yeah, it's been pretty much. It's been strange since I've retired. You know, every time I watch Saracens play, everything still feels so fresh. You still wish you're out there some days. With Namibia now in the next World Cup as well, I think it'll be a similar feeling. Be on the edge of your seat and be watching and cheering the boys on. Once you're part of rugby, you never really step away from it. So you kind of just feel like you're out there with the boys battling. So I think that feeling probably never goes away.
And you were only 32 when you retired. I mean, for some people that might be a young age to be stepping away. Were you ready to go at that stage? Was it a case where the body was just kind of telling you enough was enough?
Yeah, you know what, Neil, I had a few big injuries, and I came back after a two-year stint out, and then I had another couple of surgeries, and I was fortunate enough to get back and play for another 3 seasons after that, you know, and it was tough times, you know. I took a lot of my time just lying on physio beds and icing and just rehabilitating it constantly. And the last year especially was quite tough because I couldn't do what I wanted to do on the pitch physically. I just wasn't where I wanted to be, and that frustrated me. I think that's the main part. You know, my body was sore and everything was aching, but the main thing is I could feel that I wasn't able to do what I wanted to do out there on the pitch, and then I decided, listen, if I'm going to be half a player, I'd rather not play at all. And you have to start with your life after rugby at some stage. And if I wasn't going to be able to do my best on a rugby pitch, I wanted to do it somewhere else.
Yeah, was it possibly down to the fact that your nature of your style of play was quite attritional? It was really, really physical. It was probably the main characteristic that people associated with you. I mean, for other players, maybe they might have been able to play at their natural pace, but just the sheer physicality that you kind of always, you know, throwing your body around recklessly almost at times, you just probably couldn't sustain that any longer.
Yeah, I think it takes its toll. You know, all the contacts and the impacts takes a big toll on your body. And unfortunately or fortunately, I played in the back row where you kind of take a lot of impact. And I did enjoy the physical part of the game, maybe a little bit too much. And but I mean, there's nothing I would change. You know, there's nothing. I didn't know how to play anywhere else. It was just the way I played. So just go out there and then. It's a man test, you know, to see who backs away first, and I was always ready for that confrontation. And at the end of the day, I mean, when it's time to stop, at least you can say, listen, you gave it 100%, and it's time to walk away.
And when you kind of see how the game has moved in the 3 years since, do you think the physicality and the brutality almost of the hits are kind of just getting greater and greater, and we're eventually going to reach a breaking point where, you know, it's just no longer kind of sustainable, and you really need to change the way the game is played?
Yeah, you know, that's an interesting one. I look at a lot of people speaking about making the game safer, and it's so hard. You know, it's so tough to make a game like rugby safer. Coaches keep telling us to dominate collisions and to dominate the gain line, and I would never tell anybody not to go that hard. You know, if you want to play the game, you know the dangers behind it. You know, you got to go out and give it 100%. Go and have a full crack. And already in the last, I would say, 5 years, the rules have changed tremendously, and it has made the game safer. And I think there's still ways they can improve it. You know, I think the amount of rugby played is probably the best way to look at it. And there's a couple of people talking about rules breakdown, rules changes and stuff, but it's. With the high tackle laws being so strict, you know, I think it's made a big effect. You know, it's already changed the way guys are going lower. You can see. I mean, I just don't want people to step off the gas. You know, they need to make the rules safer and try to protect the players. And a big focus point should be the amount of rugby professional players play and hard work on youngsters' techniques. You know, we've got to make sure that we drill good, safe techniques into our youngsters, you know, and then you could tell them, go out there and give it your best, you know, go and play. There's no half-hearted attempts in the game of rugby. That's I've found throughout my career, whenever you go for a half-hearted attempt or you're not fully committed to something in a tackle or in a ruck or whatever, that's when you get injured, you know. So I mean, we want to see rugby be safer. We want to see the game of rugby grow. But there's a reality to the game that it's a very dangerous game. It's very physical. Big boys running into each other. You know, somebody is about to get hurt, and I mean that's a decision you're going to make at the end of the day if it's something you want to do. But I think the rule changes and everything. I can see World Rugby are trying their absolute best to make the game safer. And at the end of the day, we don't want to see people get injured and retire through serious injuries. So I definitely think it's on the right track.
Mm-hmm. Moving on to Namibia specifically now, as I mentioned in the intro there, Namibia, it's going to be a 6th World Cup. They have never won a game in the tournament. Granted, the last game that was played for them against Georgia was the closest they ever came, a 1-point defeat. But is this the year where Namibia are going to get that win? Because we have seen down the years, every single tournament, the amount of points they're scoring is getting a little bit higher. The amount of points they're conceding is getting lower tournament on tournament. And with the way Canada have gone, I spoke to people from Canada last week when I was profiling them, and they made no bones about it. They are absolutely highlighting the Namibia game as the must-win game because they don't want to be the first team to lose to Namibia in a World Cup.
Yeah. No, I understand that, and I think that's probably the right thing. They'll know that Namibia will go out gunning, and the same for us. Realistically, Canada will be our target as well. To get that first win, but it's the World Cup. It's so tough, You're playing against South Africa, the All Blacks, and then you've got Canada. They're no slouches, They're a good, solid, strong rugby team, and then Italy. It's all teams that are really good at play good quality of rugby. So it's going to be an extremely tough task, as has been all the other World Cups. We've all had targets set and teams we wanted to win. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to be a big ask. It's going to be a big ask. We've got almost half of the team will be amateurs, so it'll need a lot of heart. It'll need a lot of heart now, and I do believe there's a lot of heart in that Namibian side. And we need to be smart as well how we go about things. We need to prepare well, and we need to step up. And just I think. The main thing for us over the years has been belief. We've lacked a bit of belief because I think we've got about 890, 900 rugby players in the whole of Namibia. So it's quite a small amount of players, and we'll always watch these big teams and big countries on TV and all our heroes and stuff. And once we face them, I think sometimes it feels like the players are stunned. Listen, we're playing against the All Blacks, and that whole atmosphere, everything gets to some of the players. I think the main thing is if we can get the mindset of, listen, let's go out there and just have a crack at everybody. Go for all the small victories. Every breakdown, every tackle, every scrum, every time you can win a little phase in the match. Put you closer to where you want to be. So it's going to take a big effort to get that first win. Doesn't matter who it is. I do believe we've got a decent squad. I'm slightly worried about our preparation, which I don't feel we've had great build up towards this tournament. We've played in the Nations Cup recently where we did all right. We beat Uruguay, but we lost a couple of matches. But there's not enough. We haven't played enough first class, big, important test matches to prepare us for this World Cup. So every time we do get on the pitch in the World Cup, it feels like we're just kind of in a strange vibe where we don't know what to do. And then 15 minutes in, 20 minutes in, you start believing, hey, listen, we're in this match. We're actually competitive. And by that time, it's too late. So it needs to be a straight-up mindset. Listen, we go out there, and whoever's in front of us, we just have a full-on go and see if we can get that first victory. But realistically, Canada will be our best shot, I would say. To be honest, I haven't seen much of Canada in the last year or so. So, but what I do know is they are a tough rugby side. So, if we can get that first win, it'll be unbelievable.
Obviously, as well as Canada, which is the game that Namibia would be targeting or thinking they might have the best chance of winning, there are also games against New Zealand and South Africa in there as well. Yeah. You would have played against New Zealand at the last World Cup in 2015. Like, how difficult is it to prepare for a game like that for a side as small as Namibia, where, as you mentioned, like quite a few of the players are amateurs or semi-professionals, and you're going up against world champions, the best players in the game, some of the most expensive players in the game. How do you actually approach that and not kind of be beaten before you actually get onto the pitch?
Now, you know what? I think it's actually quite easy. If you to play against the best players in the world, for me it was easy to get up for those games because you're going to play against the best players in the world, and you want to prove yourself against them. You want to weigh yourself and see, where am I? How good are these guys really? And that should be your target. Go out there and challenge yourself against the best in the world. But again, it comes back to that belief. I think that's the one thing we've struggled with in the past. You can sit there in a locker room and you're about to play 18 minutes against the All Blacks, and you can see there's doubt. You can see there's doubt in some of the players' eyes. And there's some of the boys who go out there and just give their absolute best, but sometimes we just get caught up in the whole moment, the whole thing about playing this big side, South Africa or the All Blacks, instead of just going out there and having a go, And what I kept telling the boys was there's no other opportunity. There's not a better opportunity that'll come along their path. If they want to prove themselves or if they want to make a career out of the game, if you go out there and you play against the All Blacks and you put in a hell of a performance, people are going to sit up and notice. So, that's what we've got to do. That's what we've got to do. We've got to go out there and take it to them, And it's going to be tough. These are the best players in the world for a reason. They're guys who are incredibly talented and tough at the same time. They don't lie down. So, it's exciting. It's exciting. I think that's what everybody needs to see in the Namibian team, especially is the excitement of getting the opportunity to go out there and measure yourself against the best in the world.
Is there an element where you might have to be a little bit selfish about it for maybe some players who are playing with smaller clubs or amateur teams, where you're kind of saying, if I go out and do well today, I'm potentially putting myself in a shop window? There could be a professional career to come from this if someone sees me play well and decides to take a chance on me.
Definitely. Obviously you go out there and you play for your country, and everything you do out there is for your country, and the pride you have in wearing your country's shirt, But you've got to think about yourself as well. You've got to think about where you want to go in your career, And if you're out there and obviously in the context of the game with a game plan and with the collected effort, go out there and you put in a hell of a performance, and you hit breakdowns and you chase as hard as you can, and you just work incredibly hard, then I promise you people will sit up and notice, and when you open your eyes, you'll have an opportunity to make a living out of it, because there's a lot of guys in that Namibian team who want to be professional rugby players but just haven't had that opportunity, or haven't just put their foot in the door and say, listen, I'm here, pick me, I can do something special. So it's up to them, it's up to every player to go out there and have a good crack and actually do their best. And the opportunity, like I said earlier, there won't be a better opportunity than against the All Blacks and the Springboks.
Your own World Cup memories. Your first game in the Rugby World Cup was obviously against Ireland in 2007, which is a game that for the last 12 years or so in Ireland, people have been trying to forget, because there had been so much expectation around Ireland leading into that tournament. And at the time, I think it finished 32-17, which at the time was the closest Namibia had actually come to winning a game. And it was only, I think Ireland scored a try maybe in the last 10-15 minutes to give themselves a slight cushion. You gave Ireland an absolutely huge scare at the time. For your first World Cup game, that must have felt absolutely incredible for large parts, to think that, I'm sure ye thought for a large portion of that game, it absolutely is there for the taking.
No, definitely. I think that's one of the moments as well where I saw, listen, we're playing against Ireland, and as a young kid, it's a big experience. You go out there and you've got a lot of respect for these players, and you go out there and you face them, and 60, 70 minutes in, you're still in this match. That's when you start realizing, listen, we can do better than we are doing. And it was one of those days. It was first off, we had great support from the French support. They were supporting us all the way, obviously, and it was a very special day. And we played out of our boots. A couple of players, amateur players, really stepped up and had a good opportunity to go further in the game. And they took it to the Irish, and we could have been better prepared. I feel, there's always room for improvement when you play these top teams. They're so well drilled, and they don't make a lot of mistakes. But on that day, we got to Ireland. It wasn't completely 100% on their game, and we were playing out of our boots. And at the end, we came pretty close to causing a big upset.
Yeah, and obviously your last World Cup game, which we briefly mentioned earlier, 17-16, the defeat to Georgia, which is now the closest Namibia have come, led at half-time 6-0. Unfortunately for you, you picked up a concussion early on in that game. Was that a tough one to take for your last chance to wear a Namibia jersey, that it was early enough in the game and all of a sudden, that's it, it's over?
Yeah, that was quite tough. I think because I realistically, I thought against Tonga last year as well, the previous World Cup 2015, I think that against Tonga we had a realistic chance of winning as well. A couple of things didn't go our way. We didn't defend as well as we should have, and our scrums were struggling. But we had realistic opportunity to score tries and to beat them. And then going into that Georgia game, we knew it was going to be tough. Georgian rugby has grown immensely over the last couple of years, and they're tough, especially their pack of fours are a real tough bunch. And we knew it was going to be tough, but I was extremely up for it. I thought this is going to be it. I truly believe this is going to be our first win, and we were also invested in that. And 7-8 minutes in the game, I woke up and my game was over. It was it's one of those things, and it was sad, It was sad to get up there, and I came off the pitch and I did the quick concussion test, and they said, "No, sorry, mate, you were out cold, so it's no chance of you going back." And then the realization just sets in, and then you realize this is time. It's done. So it wasn't the way I wanted to end my professional or my rugby career and international shirt. So. But that's rugby, eh? You can never really choose when it's your time to retire or when it's your time to step away from the game. The choice is kind of made for you when you go out there and you play the game and you're willing to put your body on the line. Then these things happen. So I was quite sad when I had to go off the pitch that early on, but I was in the same sense extremely proud of the boys. The backup, Ruan Kitshoff came off the bench and he played a real big match, and they really took it to the Georgians, and at the end we just fell short. So I think it was still an effort to be proud of, but that first win would have been great if we could have got it against Georgia. But now we've got to go out there and hunt it in Japan and see if we can get that first evasive win.
And any other particular memories that stand out from World Cups, or your time in the maybe a shirt that are kind of dear to you?
Well, yeah, there's so many. I've taken a few big thumpings against really good sides. That's the tough part about playing for Namibia, because you're one of the minnows and you are playing against real world class quality sides. You take a few beatings, and it takes a lot. It takes a lot to stand up from that every time and try and go again. And you know what? For me, I'm extremely proud to have worn the shirt and to have played for my country and to have captained my country for 2 World Cups. It's been so great. It's been unbelievable. So it's been great to just wear that shirt and be out there. So, every test match you play for your country is pretty special, But I would have loved to have gotten that first victory at the World Cup in the previous one. That would have put the icing on the cake. But it wasn't meant to be. So, but I wish the Namibian team of 2019 can get that one, and I'll celebrate with them as if I was there.
And on a club level, you were lucky enough to win some trophies with Saracens in particular. I think it was a couple of premierships and a Heineken Cup in there as well. When things were going well with Saracens and when you were kind of front and centre on what was an absolutely brilliant team, probably the best in Europe at the time, and probably is still even in 2019, did you kind of feel you were representing Namibia out there? Were you kind of proudly flying the flag of Namibia, because we wouldn't really see too many Namibian players playing for these top teams in Europe?
Yeah, definitely. When you're out there and you're playing wherever you play, you represent your country in a way. I remember when I arrived at Saracens, I was relatively unknown. Not a lot of people can pronounce Namibia. I don't know where it is. So it was a big challenge, to go out there from Namibia and to try and make it there. But the club's been great. They've been so good to me, and they accepted me into the club and looked after me really well. And I just found my place there. I think a lot of players travel around from club to club, and they don't really find a place where they feel this is where I need to be. And I felt that straight away when I joined Saracens. This is where I need to be. I found my place, and I found. I feel like I always look at it like as a big puzzle. You've got all these different characters with different skill sets and stuff, and there was a place for me reserved for me. I felt in what I did well, and it was something that I could contribute to their success, and I was extremely fortunate to be part of their whole journey. And they've ever since been so good, so consistently good, which is such a tough thing to do, for a lot of teams. To back up a good performance after good performance is extremely hard. So my time at Saracens was extremely special, and it'll always be close to my heart.
And Mark McCall as a coach as well, I always feel he's probably someone in Ireland anyway that probably doesn't get the credit he deserves. He's probably a little bit unheralded, because I think people associate Saracens, they're a wealthy club, they have a lot of money, and there might be this notion maybe that they've bought success. But Mark McCall as a coach, what would you have thought of him playing with him?
No, he's amazing. Smalley's been so good for the club. I felt sorry for him so many times, because there's every time the match had to be, or the team had to be picked for the weekend, he had so many tough decisions of good players who really wanted a position to play on the weekend, and he handled it so well. His relationship with the players was really good. But one thing was clear with Saracens, with Mark McCall and Brendan Fenter before him, and the whole coaching staff. If you're willing to work hard enough, and if you work hard enough, then there'll be a spot for you. You just got to go out there and work extremely hard, and you'll get your opportunity. And he was fair, and he was somebody you could lead or you could follow. He was a leader you could follow, and somebody that inspired you. And I think that's important as well. If you're working towards something and somebody that inspires you, you want to repay them, and you repay them by working very hard and just by playing with everything that's in your body. And I think Mark McCall has been extremely good for Saracens, and hopefully he can stay there for a lot longer, because I think it'll be tough to replace a guy like him.
And Jacques, finally, before we let you go, if and when the first Namibia World Cup win arrives, whether it's in 2019 or 2024 or 2028 or whenever it's or 2023 or 7, whenever it arrives, how big would it be for not just the sport in Namibia but the nation? Like, where does rugby stand in the kind of sporting hierarchy there?
No, it'll be incredible. And in the 2015 World Cup, when we played the All Blacks, we were beaten well by the All Blacks, and but we scored one try. And when we got back to Namibia, people were ecstatic. They couldn't believe what we did against the All Blacks and how good we were in that game. And just it just brought the whole country together. And they supported us so well throughout the World Cup. To get that first win will be incredible for Namibian rugby and for the whole nation itself. So they'll be fixed in front of their television sets or in the pubs and stuff when we play. Don't you worry about that. We'll get plenty of support, and we're a proud nation. So they'll go out there and give it a big support, and hopefully the team can repay us by getting that evasive first win.
Jacques, thanks a million for speaking to us here in Off the Ball and Land of the Rising Scrum, and enjoy the World Cup.
Thank you very much, mate. No problem. Have a nice day.
Yes, that was Jacques Berger there speaking to us on Land of the Rising Scrum. Just a reminder as well, our rugby coverage on Off the Ball is brought to you by Vodafone. Team of us, everyone in. Now, next up on our Namibia section of Land of the Rising Scrum, I'm delighted to say, is former Welsh international and current Namibia head coach Phil Davies is on the line ready to speak to us now. Phil, good afternoon. Thanks a million for joining us.
Afternoon, Neil. No, pleasure to be here. Thank you for asking.
We're a few months out now. How are preparations going? I see in the last couple of weeks you would have been involved in the Nations Cup. You've kind of put out your preliminary squad that's kind of getting ready. How are preparations coming together?
Yeah, they're good. Thanks. There's always challenges with Tier 2 nations, but we've had a pretty good preparation so far with the home-based players in particular. That's always a challenge because most of those guys still work. So we've had a really good preparation with them playing in Super Sport, and we've identified and established a good playing philosophy over the last 3.5-4 years actually. But we put a few finishing touches to that. The fitness levels are improving. We're getting fitter, faster, stronger. And yeah, we're in a good place. We're in a better place this time round, leading into 2019 than we were into 2015.
And in the last few weeks as well, you've had a couple of games in the Nations Cup. You played against Uruguay. A brilliant win for Namibia, and I saw you tweeting afterwards, like just the size and the importance of a win like that for a country in Namibia, as I think in your tweet mentioned, somewhere between 800 and 900 men playing rugby in the country to choose from. It's not that much to go by. There was also defeat to Russia as well. Any other games coming up between now and the start of the tournament?
Well, yeah, the Nations Cup was a fantastic experience for us, and gave us a lot of confidence. We're bringing in 3 or 4 players who were playing sort of professionally in Europe, and it can elevate the performance, and that was a pleasing thing about it. The tournament was brilliantly organised, great standard, and we've in the pre-season now, as we call it, and then we hope to have 2 or 3 matches prior to leaving for Japan, which will be in Namibia. So there's a lot to look forward to, but still a lot of hard work in front of us.
When I was speaking to Jacques Berger in the first part of this show, and we were talking about how he would have been one of the professional players involved in the team, and with a country like Namibia, there is a blend between a few guys playing professionally and then a lot who are on the amateur or semi-pro side of things. As a head coach, is it tough to kind of get the balancing act right? Because I imagine you probably don't have access to the professionals as much as you do to the amateur players, and are you kind of relying on the professional guys to almost be like coaches in and of themselves to kind of pick up what they've learned at their various clubs around the world and kind of bring back and teach the guys around them?
Yeah, we always look to use the rugby intellect, if you like, of the professional players. But what we've tried to do over the last sort of 4 years is create a playing philosophy that everybody understands and everybody sort of buys in. And when the professionals come along, when you insert them into that playing philosophy, there's an elevation in performance, so that we have a good collective understanding of playing rugby. Because previously that was the case, and there'd be 6 or 7 guys coming in, and everybody trying to catch up with them. Whereas now we've created over 4 years a playing philosophy, a game plan that everybody understands. Whether you're a home-based player playing, as an amateur or a semi-professional, or you're a professional, they can come in and we can pick up and get some cohesion and rhythm into what we're doing pretty quickly, Neil. And that's been the key, really, to the last few years, that we've been able to be disciplined in the way we play. We can adapt to certain circumstances now, and we've got a little bit of innovation in our play as well. So it's been a real team effort, and we're quite cohesive at the moment, and looking forward to what's in front of us.
Your own involvement with Namibia, you've been involved with the team for about 5 years now, kind of at various times as an advisor, and then kind of ended up as head coach. How did you actually get involved with Namibia initially? Because it's like, for most coaches who've been knocking around kind of like the professional clubs in England and Wales like you had for a long time, it's quite off the beaten track, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but I when I finished with Cardiff Blues, I got a little bit disillusioned with the professional game at that time, and I was looking to sort of consolidate all my learnings that I've had in Leeds, Worcester, and the Scarlets and the Blues. Just consolidate a bit of learning, but try to give back to Tier 2 developing sort of rugby nations, and that's a real passion of mine, trying to put systems and structures in place to see people grow and develop. And I was very grateful, to Mark Egan at World Rugby at that time, and I went out to South Africa to do a little bit of a coach education week with them, and then got asked from there that I got involved with another Irishman, actually, Dr. Liam Hennessy, who came to Namibia with me first off, and that's how we got involved in it. And I loved doing it and really enjoyed it, and feel very privileged to have an opportunity to help and do my bit to help a country sort of grow. Really, that's been the exciting part of it, Neil.
Is the fact maybe that you got so close to getting Namibia's first win in the World Cup in 2015 against Georgia, would that nearly be part of the reason why you've kind of stayed on until now, because you've seen just how close they are to getting over that little hurdle and picking up a first win for them ever at the tournament, and you can just kind of feel how close they are?
Yeah, that was one of the reasons. Obviously, was to try, to do that. The main reason really was the players. People like Jacques previously. He left a legacy, and trying to build on that. There were a couple of senior boys that left after 2015, and I was very keen, for the current group to try to create their own legacy, and that's what they've done. We've got a far younger group of players now than we had in 2015. I think our average age was 31. Our average age now is 24. I think it's 24.7 to be exact, Neil. So it's a good young group, and we've actually got more caps under our belt than we did in 2015, would you believe? So we've just ended up, playing more rugby, developing a younger group, and that's been the exciting part of it. And, we've been African champions for the last 4 years, and it's an amazing testimony to the players and the staff that we have there, because it's always very limited because of certain rugby demographics. So it's fantastic, really, and I hope the players can achieve something and make it sort of 25 years in waiting, really. Namibia have been trying to win a game, I think, for 25 years, but hopefully this group will be capable of competing and going one step further than we did against Georgia in 2015,
In terms of the challenges you face being coach of a team like Namibia, is one of them the fact that you don't really get to test yourselves against the better opposition as much as you'd like? I was looking through your fixtures for the last 2 years, and you can correct me now if I'm wrong, from what I could see, since the last World Cup, only Uruguay and Russia are the sides you have faced that are going to be playing at the 2019 tournament, and that's in the space of 4 years. You've been playing in the African Championships and winning those regularly, but if you're going to get on to the next level, are you going to have to be able to get games against the better opposition more often?
Yeah, that's always a challenge, with the tier 2 level, particularly where we are, between sort of, 19 to 25 in the world. It's always, it comes down to resource, it comes down to funding, it comes down to availability. And yeah, I would like us to play, I think everybody would, not just Namibia, all the other nations in those positions I mentioned, would like to, but there's a lot of factors that sometimes can't make that possible, Neil, So, as I say, in terms of availability of teams, finances, etc. We've played, I would have liked us to play, like a November series, which we have done against Uruguay, playing the Nations Cup, which we have done a couple of times. And, we played Emerging Italy a few times, we played Argentina A. And all these games have been valuable, along with the Super Sport Challenge and the Currie Cup. But although the scoreboards have been painful at times, the learning that the boys have had out of that has been terrific. It's been incredible. And it's just got to continue. We've got to grow the game, we've got to get more players playing, get the club game up to standard, because there's only 7 Premiership clubs. It's dominated by 2 or 3 clubs, there is always a political arena there, so there's a few things to sort of iron out, but there's huge potential as well.
I spoke to a couple of people involved with Canada in last week's episode of this, and they're making no bones about it. They know full well that Namibia are very much coming for them in the pool stages, and that you have your eyes firmly set on Canada. If you were to be able to earn that first World Cup win with the country, you've obviously won things as a player. You've played 40 plus times for Wales when you were a player, won things as a coach. Where would getting a first World Cup win for Namibia rank among those things?
I think it's Neil, it's about the players and seeing. The big thing for me in coaching is always seeing the players smiling and laughing, joking and singing, if you like, after games. And we've had a few of those in Namibia, and that's what I'm looking forward to. If we can achieve something, we've got Italy first, New Zealand, South Africa, New Zealand in that order. So we've got we've got a lot to do before that. But if we can do it, it'll be great just to see the reaction on the people, the staff and the players. That'll be a huge bonus if we can see that type of reaction, and that's what it's all about, really. It's about them and them getting an opportunity to have that feeling and make the country proud. That's a big sort of carrot for us, really. Is to get that win and get that feeling.
Yeah, and finally then as well, like you mentioned New Zealand and South Africa, they obviously stand out like a sore thumb in that pool, and you even chuckled yourself there mentioning it. Like, how in the name of God do you prepare a team, a tier 2 side who, as we mentioned, Uruguay and Russia are the only World Cup teams you would have played in the last 4 years. How do you go from that to preparing to taking on the 3 in a row chasing world champions and the side who won the tournament the time before that?
I think it's sort of get a bit of help from the man above, I think. But look, the beauty of being involved with the World Rugby program is and the beauty of the modern game is analysis. The analysis and the data that you can get now. So when you're preparing, we know that we've got to try to get our team fit and skillful to play maybe 40, 42 minutes ball in play rugby, and I think that could go up to 45 in Japan, given the conditions and the surfaces, etc. Neil. So we know where we are, and it's trying to get us as fit and as skillful as we possibly can to go into that type of arena, and then just be competitive, be as competitive as we possibly can, and see where we go. We know we're not going to beat New Zealand and South Africa, but like we did last time against New Zealand, we just want to come off the field, with our pride sort of intact, that we've given it everything we've got, and we move on to the next game. And that's what we're doing. In terms of the work we're putting in now, it's all reference based in terms of the analysis and the data we have available to us. So we know we're going somewhere. We're not sort of. It's not like it's not a flag in the wind sort of thing. We've got quite a structured program based around the metrics that we know other teams are achieving, and we've got to try and get up there,
Okay, Phil, thanks a million for joining us on Land of the Rising Scrum.
Pleasure, Neil. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
And just a reminder for those listening at home, if you want to listen back to any of our previous episodes, you can do on offtheball.com. You can find us in the podcast section there, or you can also watch these back on YouTube as well on Off the Ball's YouTube page. We'll speak to you next week.